Freedom is not something they give you. It's something you must realize and fight for within yourself. Most people think freedom is the absence of chains. But chains aren't always made of metal. They can be comfort. They can be fear. They can be other people's opinions. You wake up every day, go where you're told to go, do what you're told to do, and say what you're told to say. And you call that freedom? No, that's slavery with better branding. Freedom is not living without rules. It's living by your own rules. Freedom is not about breaking laws. It's about knowing which laws are breaking you. You were not born to just exist. You were born to expand. But the system wants you small, quiet, tame, forgetful of your power. Real freedom begins the day you stop waiting for permission. Permission to speak, permission to dream, permission to act. Stop waiting, start moving. The cage they built for you doesn't even have a lock, but you've been sitting inside it with the door wide open because they trained your mind to stay still. Your mind is the first battleground. Win there, and you've already escaped. Because what good is physical freedom if you are still mentally enslaved? If you must fight for the right to be yourself, not their version of you, not the watered-down, acceptable, smiling version, the raw, bold, untamed you. You want freedom, then embrace discomfort. Because comfort is the drug they use to keep lions sleeping. Say what you mean what you say. Walk where your spirit leads you. And yes, you will be misunderstood. You will be judged. You will be called crazy. That's the price of freedom. Only the brave pay it. You must become fluid, adaptable, not rigid. Rigidity breaks, fluidity flows. Adapt not to conform, but to conquer. You want to be free. Then let go of the need to control everything. Let go of the fear of the unknown. Freedom lives in the unknown, in that space between who you were and who you're becoming. They told you to follow the path. But freedom doesn't follow, it creates. Don't follow the map. Be the compass. Don't fit into their world. Build your own. Freedom isn't a destination, it's a decision. A decision to be real, even when fake is easier. So I ask you now, what are you still a prisoner of? People's opinions, a job you hate, a fear of failing, a past that's over. Break the walls, shatter the illusion, burn the mask. You were not made to be controlled. You were made to be unleashed. So stop waiting, unlock yourself, be free. Freedom starts from the mind, not the body. You can be standing in an open field, surrounded by nothing but blue skies and fresh air, and still feel trapped. Not because someone has chained your hands, but because your thoughts have chained your spirit. Every single day, millions of people walk around with invisible shackles. They follow routines, live by scripts written by others, speak words they don't believe, and suppress desires they don't dare to chase. And the worst part, they call it normal. The real prison is not made of steel bars. It's made of limiting beliefs. It's the voice inside your head that says, "You're not good enough. You can't do that. What will people think?" Those voices, planted by years of conditioning, are more dangerous than any lock or gate. Because when the mind is imprisoned, the body simply follows. Imagine a bird born in a cage. Even if one day the door is left wide open, it may not fly out. Why? Because its mind has been trained to believe that the world exists only within the cage. It's not the metal that stops it. It's the belief. Now think about yourself. How many times have you had an idea, a dream, a spark, and you killed it with a thought? You didn't even try. You didn't fail because of the world. You failed because your mind told you not to start. In school, they teach you to memorize. At home, they teach you to obey. In society, they teach you to conform. What they don't teach you is how to think freely, how to question, how to explore. So by the time you become an adult, your body might be strong, but your mind is stuck in a loop, running scripts written by people who stopped dreaming long ago. You become an actor in someone else's movie, never realizing you could write your own script. True freedom begins when you take back control of your thoughts, when you start observing what you believe and asking, is this really true? For example, you might think, I'm not smart enough to start a business. But where did that belief come from? Maybe a teacher said it once. Maybe you failed a test. Maybe someone laughed when you shared your idea, and now that single moment is running your life. That's not freedom. That's mental slavery. Look around at your daily life. How many things are you doing because you truly want to? And how many are you doing out of habit, fear, or obligation? Waking up for a job you hate, pretending to be someone you're not, staying silent when your soul wants to speak, wearing a mask just to fit in. That's not life. That's survival. And survival is not freedom. You can live in a mansion, drive a luxury car, and wear designer clothes, and still be a prisoner. Because none of those things matter if your mind is at war with itself. Freedom has nothing to do with possessions. It has everything to do with presence. When your thoughts are aligned with your actions, when your dreams are allowed to breathe, when your truth is louder than your fear. Think of the times when you felt most alive. Maybe it was when you stood up for yourself. Maybe it was when you took a risk. Maybe it was when you let go of what was expected and followed what felt right. Those moments weren't comfortable, but they were real. And in that realness, you felt freedom. That's the clue. Freedom isn't easy. It's not soft. It demands courage. It demands facing the parts of yourself you've buried. But in return, it gives you everything. Your mind is the battlefield. Every time you choose self, belief over doubt, you win a battle. Every time you choose action over procrastination, you gain ground. Every time you say, "This is who I am," despite judgment, you break a wall. It's not about being perfect. It's about being conscious, noticing when fear is steering the wheel and taking it back. Look at children. Before the world tells them who to be, they move with freedom. They sing without shame. They dance without rhythm. They dream without limits. That's pure mental freedom. Somewhere along the line, the world teaches them to be afraid. Afraid of failure. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of being different. And that fear builds the walls. But walls can be torn down. The first crack begins with awareness. Just asking yourself, why do I think this way? Can change your entire direction. And once the mind is free, the world becomes your playground. Possibilities open, energy returns. Life becomes something you create, not just endure. You don't need to escape to a mountain or meditate for hours to free your mind. You just need to pay attention. Question the thoughts that shrink you. Reject the narratives that don't serve you. Speak your truth even when your voice shakes. And act, not from fear, but from alignment. A free mind doesn't mean chaos. It means clarity. It doesn't mean doing whatever you want blindly. It means doing what aligns with who you truly are. And that alignment, that inner freedom, cannot be bought, borrowed, or gifted. It must be earned every day through choice, through awareness, through courage. Every time you choose growth over comfort, truth over approval, and purpose over pressure, you reclaim your mind. And when the mind is free, the body follows. The life follows. Everything follows. Comfort is the invisible prison. It's warm. It's familiar. It feels like safety. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Comfort doesn't show up with chains or guards. It shows up with routines, with habits, with that voice that says, "You've done enough for today. Relax." It whispers, not yells. It seduces you with convenience. It tells you to stay in bed a little longer, to avoid the hard conversation, to delay your dreams until tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And before you realize it, you're stuck. Not because you were weak, but because comfort was strong. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you shrink a little. Your potential takes a step back. Your dream gets buried under one more day of delay. Comfort feeds on the idea that you have time. But time doesn't wait, and comfort doesn't care. It just wants you still, passive, quiet. It wants you to believe that settling is winning, that ease is success. But deep down, you feel the tension, because your soul knows the truth. And the truth is, you were not born to just exist. You were born to expand, to break, to rise. Look around. The gym is uncomfortable, but it builds strength. Rejection is uncomfortable, but it builds resilience. Starting something new is uncomfortable, but it builds character. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's the training ground. The sharp edge where you're forced to meet yourself, to grow beyond the limits you didn't even know you had. The real enemy is comfort that looks like peace, but is really decay. Think about the person who wakes up every day and goes to a job they hate. They sit in traffic, punch the clock, smile when they don't feel like it, and count the hours until they're free. But they never leave, not because they love it, but because it's comfortable, it's predictable, it pays the bills, and so they stay, not happy, not fulfilled, just surviving. The invisible prison has no guards, but it locks tighter every year. Comfort tricks you. It tells you that risk is dangerous, that failure is fatal, that embarrassment is something to avoid. So you avoid it, and you become smaller. You stop trying new things. You stop speaking your truth. You stop dreaming out loud. You stop fighting for yourself. And that's how people lose their fire. Not all at once, but one soft decision at a time. One skipped workout, one ignored instinct, one more hour of scrolling, one more excuse. Comfort is not rest. It's not recovery. Rest fuels you to move. Comfort convinces you to stop, and the longer you stay in comfort, the more it rewires your mind. Soon, you forget what hunger felt like, what ambition felt like, what risk felt like. You become numb. Not because you don't care, but because comfort makes caring painful. Because caring would mean doing something, and doing something would mean leaving the prison. Look at anyone who built something meaningful. They all had to leave comfort. They all had to walk into uncertainty. They had to be willing to look foolish, to get hurt, to start from zero. They had to face fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. But they moved anyway, and each step outside comfort made them stronger, made them clearer, made them free. Comfort zones are not real boundaries. They are mental limits disguised as reality. The walls are made of thoughts like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not qualified. What if I fail? Those thoughts don't protect you. They trap you, and they grow stronger every time you listen to them. But here's the truth. Growth is always on the other side of discomfort. Every major breakthrough begins with a moment of pain, doubt, or resistance. Remember the last time you did something that scared you. Maybe it was speaking in front of people. Maybe it was saying how you really feel. Maybe it was walking away from something that no longer served you. Do you remember how alive you felt afterward? That rush, that clarity, that's your real self. That's who you are without the walls. And that self doesn't live in comfort. It lives in challenge, in purpose, in movement. You don't have to burn down your life, but you do have to challenge it. Question your routines. Ask yourself, is this serving me or just soothing me? Are your habits making you stronger or just keeping you still? Every day you wake up, you have a choice to take one step toward your vision or to take one step deeper into comfort. One leads to freedom, the other to quiet regret. Discomfort doesn't mean danger. It means you're growing. It means you're alive. Comfort may feel good now, but it steals from your future. It robs you of the life you could have, the person you could become. And the most dangerous part is, it does it so gently, so quietly, that you don't even notice it slipping away. Until one day, you wake up and wonder how you got so far from who you wanted to be. And by then, comfort is no longer comfortable. It's suffocating. It's the padded cell that kept you from greatness, and you realize you never needed a key. The door was open the whole time. Real freedom is living by your own rules, not the rules handed to you by society, not the expectations passed down by family, not the silent standards set by people who don't even know who you really are. It's about waking up every day and knowing that your actions are aligned with your heart. Your direction is carved by your vision. Your life is being written by your own hands, not someone else's blueprint. Most people don't live like that. They follow scripts, go to school, get a job, buy things to impress people they don't respect, live for the weekend, retire when they're old and tired. That's not freedom. That's permission-based living. The moment you start writing your own rules, everything changes. You begin to move differently. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop explaining why your dreams look different. You stop waiting for validation. Because the truth is, if you live by other people's rules, you'll end up living their life. And if you're living their life, you're abandoning yours. How many people are quietly drowning in comfort, in predictability, in doing what's expected? They wear suits that don't fit their soul. They speak in tones that don't match their fire. They smile when they want to scream, because they're playing a part. And the saddest part is, they're good at it, good enough to convince the world, but not themselves. Real freedom is messy. It's risky. It's full of decisions that don't make sense to people who are still stuck in the matrix. It means saying no when everyone else says yes. It means quitting a job that pays well but kills your spirit. It means choosing peace over popularity, purpose over applause. It means building something from nothing, not because it's guaranteed to succeed, but because it's yours. Your idea, your fire, your voice. That's freedom, not safety, not certainty, but truth. Remember when you were a kid, you didn't ask if your dream was realistic. You just dreamed. You wanted to be an astronaut, a dancer, a superhero. Your imagination didn't come with limits. No one had told you yet that you should be practical. And then slowly, the rules started showing up. Don't be too loud. Don't be too bold. Fit in. Play it safe. Color inside the lines. And if you did that well enough, you got rewarded. Gold stars, praise, acceptance. But every star was a trade, a little piece of your raw self exchanged for approval. Until one day, you looked in the mirror and saw a version of you that was liked by everyone, except the real you. Living by your own rules doesn't mean being reckless. It means being real. It means listening to that voice inside that whispers, "This is not who I am," when you're stuck in the wrong room. It means trusting your instincts when the world says you're crazy. It means walking alone sometimes, not because you want to, but because no one else sees the vision yet. The lion doesn't need permission to roar. Neither do you. Look at the people who inspire the world. Artists, creators, rebels, inventors. They weren't handed permission slips. They didn't wait for applause. They moved on faith. They trusted the beat of their own drum. And they got criticized, misunderstood, laughed at. But they kept going, because freedom wasn't a destination for them. It was a decision, every day. They chose to stay true instead of staying comfortable. They chose to be authentic instead of accepted. And now the world calls them legends. You have to ask yourself, whose rules are you living by? Whose voice is guiding your path? Whose approval are you chasing? Because every time you bend who you are to fit a mold, you lose power. And the truth is, the mold was never meant for you. You were born to break it, to redefine it, to reshape it with your own hands. No one else can live your purpose. No one else can walk your path. And if you don't walk it, it stays empty. Real freedom feels like waking up with fire in your chest. It feels like knowing your life has meaning because you gave it meaning. It feels like looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm proud of who I am." Not because you're perfect, but because you're honest. It feels like breaking cycles that have trapped your family for generations. Like choosing love when you were raised on fear. Like building a legacy when all you were handed was survival. It's not easy. It's not instant. But it's worth it. Because once you taste that kind of freedom, the kind that comes from living on your terms, you can't go back. You can't unsee the truth. You can't unfeel the power. And suddenly, the opinions don't matter. The noise fades, the fear shrinks, and all that remains is clarity. Not loud, but unshakable. Not flashy, but unbreakable. And you walk forward, not because the path is clear, but because it's yours. The system prefers you tame, choose to stay wild. Because the world is built in a way that rewards obedience and punishes authenticity. From the moment you're born, there's a quiet current pulling you to fit in, to shrink, to stay in line. They don't want you to question too much, dream too big, or burn too bright. The system wants predictability. It wants you on a schedule in a box, moving through life like a machine. It teaches you to sit still, raise your hand, ask for permission. It programs you to fear risk, to chase comfort, to value approval more than truth. You grow up being told what's possible. They hand you a menu of dreams and say, "Pick from these." But what if your dream isn't on the menu? What if your fire can't be contained by their rules? What if you were never meant to fit into their version of reality? Wild doesn't mean reckless. Wild means free. Wild means connected to your instincts, your soul, your purpose. Wild means hearing that quiet voice inside that says, this isn't it. And having the courage to walk away from the things that everyone else calls success. It's wild to quit a stable job and chase your passion. It's wild to say no to comfort and yes to growth. It's wild to choose to live with intensity in a world that sells numbness. Wild is not chaos. Wild is truth without filters. Have you ever seen a lion in a cage? Powerful, majestic, born to roam. But behind bars, it forgets who it is. It starts pacing in circles, repeating the same pattern, day after day. The wildness isn't gone. It's just buried under routine, buried under rules, buried under fear. People are the same. They go to work every day with fire in their chest and chains on their feet. They smile at meetings but cry in silence. They chase promotions while their soul screams for meaning. They look alive, but they've been asleep for years because they were told that taming their wildness was the price of acceptance. The system sells you comfort, but charges your soul. It hands you a checklist. Go to school, get a degree, find a job, buy a house, retire at 65. But no one asks, do you feel alive? No one asks, does this make your spirit roar? Because they're not interested in your fire. They're interested in your function. They want workers, not warriors. They want sheep, not wolves. They want you quiet, not questioning. But you weren't born to be silent. You weren't born to be mild. There's something inside you that breaks rules by its very existence. The way you think, the way you see the world, the way you feel like there's something more. That's your wildness trying to wake you up. It's not rebellion. It's remembrance. It's your soul remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Think about the people you admire. The ones who moved the world. Were they tame? Did they play it safe? Did they follow the script? No, they were wild, unfiltered, untamed. They spoke when silence was expected. They ran when everyone else crawled. They failed, got back up, failed again, and still kept going. Because their wildness wasn't a weakness. It was their power. And it doesn't have to be loud. Wild doesn't mean shouting from rooftops. Sometimes wild is the quiet courage to say, this path is not for me. Sometimes it's walking away from the noise to build something of your own. Sometimes it's staying true to your art, your dream, your voice, even when no one else understands it. It's choosing authenticity over acceptance, depth over distraction, soul over system. You've seen it in daily life. The artist who keeps painting even when no one buys their work. The mother who raises her children with passion and purpose, even when the world doesn't value her strength. The young man who chooses a life of discipline, vision, and creation instead of partying every weekend because he knows his mission is bigger than the moment. These people are wild. Not because they're loud, but because they're free. You don't have to escape to the mountains to reclaim your wildness. You just have to stop apologizing for who you are. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. Stop trading your truth for security. The world doesn't need more tamed souls pretending to be happy. It needs people who are brave enough to feel fully, love deeply, and live wildly. You were not born to be part of a machine. You were born to move with purpose, to think with fire, to walk with power. Every time you choose your truth over their rules, you break the system. Every time you create instead of consume, question instead of conform, love instead of fear, you return to your wildness. And the more wild souls there are, the more the system starts to crack, not with noise, but with authenticity. Not with force, but with truth. Not with rage, but with realness. Because the system prefers you tame, but the world needs you wild. Stop waiting for permission to live fully. That permission slip you're secretly hoping for, it's not coming. Not from your parents, not from society, not from your boss, not from the world. They won't sit you down one day, hand you a golden ticket and say, "Go ahead." You're allowed to chase your dream now. You're allowed to live with fire, to speak your truth, to become who you were meant to be. It doesn't work like that. Because the world isn't built to set you free. It's built to keep you functioning, predictable and small. Most people are just waiting for the right moment, the right mood, the right mindset. They think there's a perfect time to start living boldly, and until then, they play small. They wait until they feel ready. But what if ready never comes? What if clarity only comes from motion, not meditation? What if the act of stepping forward, even trembling, is the very thing that makes you strong? Every day you wait, you trade time for illusion. You trade your fire for someone else's expectations. You get older, not bolder. You think you're playing it safe, but really, you're just playing scared. Think about it. When was the last time you said no without guilt? When was the last time you said yes to something that made your heart race with excitement and fear at the same time? If you can't remember, you've been waiting too long. No one ever became legendary by waiting for approval. Greatness doesn't come to the obedient. It comes to the brave, to the ones who say, "I don't need your permission to breathe fire into my life." Your dreams, your vision, your fire, they are valid because they exist. You don't need a certificate to be powerful. You don't need a nod from society to chase freedom. You don't need applause to believe in yourself. Look around. How many people do you see living like shadows of themselves? How many people do you know who are alive, but not truly living? They wake up, they go to work, they come home, they scroll, they sleep, all on repeat. And deep down, they know something's missing. They know there's more. But they've convinced themselves that it's not for them. They say, maybe later. But later becomes never. And one day they look back and realize they lived by the rules, but never wrote their own. Have you ever watched a child run wildly through a field, laughing, falling, getting back up, fearless? They don't ask if it's okay to dream. They just do it. They don't wait for validation to be happy. Somewhere along the way, the world taught us to stop doing that. Taught us to shrink, to ask for permission to be real. But you're not a child anymore. You have the power to unlearn that fear. You have the power to say, no more waiting. Waiting is a lie dressed as logic. It tells you, be responsible. Be realistic. Don't rock the boat. But what it really means is, don't wake up. Don't rise. Don't break the pattern. They want you to live a life that fits into their system, but you weren't made to fit. You were made to disrupt, to evolve, to shine so brightly that others remember their own light. Every time you second guess your gut, every time you silence your voice, every time you tell yourself, not yet, you're building a prison inside your mind. And the key, it's in your pocket. It's always been there. Freedom starts when you stop waiting and start moving. You've got dreams. Maybe they scare you. Maybe they feel impossible. But here's the truth. The moment you stop asking for permission, is the moment they start becoming real. Because dreams don't respond to hesitation. They respond to hunger, to action, to defiance. The universe moves for those who move first. Think of the person who quit their 9-to-5 job to build their own brand, even when everyone called them crazy. Think of the girl who left a toxic relationship, not because she had a backup plan, but because she remembered her worth. Think of the young man who stood up and said, "I'm not going to college. I'm going to start my own business." Even when the world told him he'd fail, they weren't given permission. They gave it to themselves. You can't live fully if you're living by someone else's script. You have to write your own. And the first word of that script is enough. Enough waiting. Enough doubting. Enough shrinking. Enough playing roles you were never meant to play. It's your life. Yours. No one else gets to decide how brightly you shine. You were born with a fire in your bones, a vision in your heart, a storm in your soul. And all it takes to wake that up is a decision. A decision to stop asking for permission and start claiming your space in this world. Not because someone said you could, but because you know you must. You've heard the fire. Now feel it. Feel it burn through the excuses, the fears, the doubts. Because this world, this life, this single chance you have, it doesn't care how long you've waited, how long you've suffered, how long you've played small. What it responds to is action, hunger, and belief so loud that it silences the noise of the world. They told you to stay in line, to follow the script, to play it safe. But freedom never belonged to the obedient. Freedom bows to those who dare to risk everything for the fire inside. People will call you crazy. They'll laugh, they'll whisper, they'll doubt. Let them. Because the same ones who mock the storm are the ones who run for shelter when it arrives every second. You spend waiting for the perfect moment is a second of your power slipping through your fingers. Perfect doesn't exist. What exists is now. What exists is your decision. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Because freedom doesn't wait. And neither should you. Remember this. When you're bold, the path doesn't get easier. It gets real. And that's the point. The mountain doesn't shrink when you start climbing, but your limits do. Your fears do. Your excuses crumble when you step beyond them. When you say, "I don't care if they understand me. I'm not here to be understood. I'm here to be free." A lion doesn't ask the sheep for permission to roar. The sun doesn't apologize for shining too bright. And you should never apologize for being too much, dreaming too big, or wanting more. Because what they call too much is exactly what greatness is made of. You want to inspire the world. Start by breaking your own chains. You want them to listen. Let your actions scream louder than your voice. You want freedom? Stop knocking on closed doors. Build your own entrance. Carve your own path. Let your life be so unapologetically bold that it forces others to wake up from their sleepwalking existence. People don't follow the safe. They follow the fire. They follow the storm that moves mountains. The truth that shakes souls. You are that storm. You are that fire. The only thing left is for you to believe it so deeply that the world has no choice but to feel it. Ask yourself right now, what would your life look like if you stopped waiting and started living? If you stopped shrinking and started roaring? What if you made today the day you never looked back? What if you finally understood that no one is coming to save you, because you were born to save yourself. You are not stuck. You are not trapped. You are just conditioned to believe the cage is real. But the door has been open this whole time. Walk through it. And when you do, don't tiptoe. Run. Run like your soul depends on it. Because it does remember. Legends are not remembered for how well they followed the rules. They are remembered for how bravely they broke them. Don't just exist, explode. Don't just breathe, burn. Live so loudly that the silence of others can no longer contain your echo when they ask, "Who do you think you are?" Smile and say, "I am the one who stopped asking for permission." Because you don't need approval to be free. You only need the courage to choose yourself. And if there's one truth that has never failed in the history of greatness, it's this: the moment you stop waiting, the universe starts moving. Everything you seek begins to seek you. Not because it suddenly appeared, but because you finally showed up. Fully, fiercely, freely. Now go live like you've already won. Walk like every step is setting fire to the path. Speak like every word is rewriting the story. And rise like the whole world was built just to witness your freedom unfold.